Let's go on to the next evaluation criteria, accuracy and reliability. Ideally, you would want to evaluate accuracy and reliability with the actual physical book in front of you. However, we do not have this, so we're going to use the sample on Amazon since we already know there's one available. It is hard to get a good feel for accuracy and reliability through one of these samples, but if that is available, it is certainly a way to get a good idea to see what kind of degree of accuracy is available. You won't be able to get the best idea of it, but you should at least get an idea. So while we go into Amazon, and go inside the book, and now let's take a look at some of this criteria. Now, many of it we're going to have the book. The first one is the information factually correct and reliable? Unfortunately, we are going to need to have the book in front of us in order to check that, along with some of the others. However, we can see if the author has a bibliography or a list of references. So when we go towards the end of the book and see if references are listed. And yes, the author seems to break down the references by chapter, so we get a good idea that the author has done his research. And it looks pretty extensive. We'd want to go into the actual pages and connect the reference to the information used in the book, but it looks like the author has a pretty extensive bibliography. That is no guarantee for accuracy, but it is a good step towards saying that the book is accurate and reliable. Another thing we can do is to take a look at the sample pages to gauge the author's skill in writing. Does the author use correct grammar? Does the author use correct spelling? Of course, the author may make mistakes in later pages and we wouldn't know, but these early pages should give us at least some sort of idea. Another resource for gauging accuracy and reliability of books is book reviews. They would be able to tell you if the book is inaccurate or uses poor spelling and poor grammar, especially if the review is from an academic resource, because they would be especially critical of books if they are inaccurate. However, the best way to gauge the accuracy and reliability of a book is to have it in front of you, so you can flip through it and look for these things yourselves. However, since that might not always be possible, use reviews and use these samples to get a better idea. Now let's go back into the item record and move on to the next evaluation criteria, coverage. Now when we are discussing coverage, the first question we want to ask is this information relevant to my topic? We could look at the title to get a hint, but the title could be misleading. We aren't sure what kind of treatment world Christianity and Marxism is given in this book. So the next thing we would like to do is to see if a table of contents is listed. So let's go under more details. And as we can see, China is given its own chapter. It looks like it is about 27 pages long. So we could be certain that China is given a substantial amount of information in this book. However, we aren't completely sure that the information is useful to us. We aren't sure what the book is about. Why are they talking about China? So let's go into the Content Cafe to get a better idea. So I'm going to go into the Content Cafe. One place we can look is the reviews. But for right now, let's focus on the summary, which will be more important to us. Now here we are in the summary. I'm not going to read through it, but if you were on your own looking over this, this would give you a good idea of how relevant the book is to your topic. Just judging from the summary, it does look like that this book is relevant to our topic. It focuses on Christianity, which is one element of religion, and our overall topic is religion in communist China, so it is related, just a bit more focused in its coverage. So we're going to say that this book is in fact relevant to our specific topic. Now our next question is, does this source answer the major questions you have about the topic? Our major questions would revolve around religion in communist China. We know that China has its own chapter in this book, and that this book focuses on communism and Marxism, and it also focuses on Christianity, which is an element of religion. It's one part of religion, but there are other religions. So we know that it would answer any major questions we would have about Christianity. And if we do have any of those, if we were going to focus on that for our paper, this would be a great resource. But if we were focusing on other religions, then this book might not be the best resource. So that would be dependent on how we took the paper. But for right now, let's just assume that we're talking about all religions, so this would answer at least any major questions we would have about Christianity. The next question is, does the source present comprehensive or selective coverage on the topic? And again, this presents more of a selective coverage because it focuses on Christianity. So it does answer some questions, it does give us some coverage, but we would want more resources. Our next question is, what time period is covered? Is it recent or historical? Now from the summary, it doesn't tell us exactly, although we do have a bit of a hint. According to the summary, it says that Jantz follows this with an overview of Christian responses to Marx extending from the mid-19th century to the onset of the Cold War. So we could guess that the book focuses on that time period. It may go beyond, and it may go before, but we can probably guess that at least this time period is at least covered, which would be more of a historical focus. So for right now, let's just say that this book is more of a historical focus and would not give us anything recent. Our next question is the information presented regional, national, or international in scope? We know that as national because the summary tells us this. According to the summary, it says that with this intellectual groundwork in place, Jantz turns to an examination of the encounter as it unfolded in specific national contexts: the United States, the Soviet Union, Poland, Nicaragua, Cuba, China, and Albania. So we know that it is national. And from the table of contents, we know that each chapter focuses on a different country. So each chapter has its own national focus. Our final question is, how unique is the information provided? Meaning, does it repeat information that we have in other sources? Now, from our previous source in the last tutorial, the periodical source, we know that that source focused on religion in communist China from a more economical standpoint. This one focuses just on Christianity in China. So this information might repeat, but I would venture a guess to say that it is at least worth a look to see. There probably isn't a lot of repeating since this book has a focus on Christianity. So this book is definitely worth a look. Now let's move on to the next evaluation criteria, currency and timeliness. Now when we are evaluating currency and timeliness, we want to take a look to see when the book was published. So let's take a look at the item record. And as we can see, the book was published in 1998. So the book is 15 years old. And since it is 15 years old, we can be very certain it is not current. Some of the topics it talks about are historical in focus. We already discussed that the book is historical in focus. However, some of the topics are still developing, especially in regards to our topic, religion in China. So there might have been some changes in policy in China regarding religion since this book was written. We aren't sure. So this book is not current, it is outdated. However, that does not mean it is useless to us. We could still use it as a historical background. And some of the information is still relevant to our topic if we wanted more historical information, which is its focus. However, it is definitely not current and we would not use it for current information. This concludes part 2 of this tutorial. In the next part, we'll take a look at the last evaluation criteria, appropriateness.